Once again, my name is Dr. David Price, and we are looking at the third section as we examine the Sabbaths, the feast days, the appointed times, and the new moons. We've already discovered that there are various types of Sabbaths, that the seventh-day Sabbath is different than any other Sabbath. It's different from the Passover Sabbath, which is from the 14th day at evening till morning of the 15th day. The 15th day begins the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The 16th day begins the first fruit offering, which is twofold, which goes into the Feast of Weeks. Then we give way to Yom Teruah, which is the 7th month on the first day. Then the 7th month on the 10th day would be Yom Kippur. This is the only Sabbath that is from evening to evening. This is a 24-hour period. However, it is 2 days from the 9th to the 10th. I repeat, this is not the seventh-day Sabbath from evening to evening. This is specific to Yom Kippur. Then we move into the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Booths. And now we're moving into the seventh-year Sabbath, rest of land. In Leviticus chapter 25:1, these are all different Sabbaths. So we have Sabbath for men, and then we have Sabbath for the land. Leviticus chapter 25:1. And Yahuwah spoke unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying, Leviticus 24:2, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto Yahuwah. So the land even has a time of rest. Leviticus 25:3, 6 years thou shalt sow thy field, and 6 years thou shalt prune thine vineyard, and gather in fruit thereof. Leviticus 25:4, But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath for Yahuwah. Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyards. Leviticus 25:5, That which groweth of its own accord of thy harvest thou shalt not reap, nor neither gather the grapes of thine undressed, for it is a year of rest unto the land. Not only does Yahuwah rest, man and beast are instructed to rest, the land also rests. Leviticus chapter 25:6. So the land has a Sabbath. And the Sabbath of the land shall be meat or food for you, for thee and for thy servant. Now the servant here is Hebrew 5650, which is a bed. This is a bondman or a bondman or slave. And for thy maid, this is Amah, a female slave. And for thy hired servant, this is someone who receives wages yearly. And for thy stranger, a person dwelling that's not a native, that sojourneth with thee. So everybody receives this Sabbath. Leviticus 26:7. And for thy cattle and for the beasts that are in the land shall the increase thereof be meat. Leviticus 25:19. And the land shall yield her fruit, and ye shall dwell therein safety. Leviticus 25:20. And ye shall say, What shall we eat the 7th year? So if we can't prune it, if we can't pluck, if we can't receive food from the land, what shall we eat the 7th year? Behold, we shall not sow nor gather in our increase. Leviticus chapter 25:21. Then I will command my blessing upon the 6th year, and it shall bring forth fruit for 3 years. Here, Yah is giving us provision. Leviticus 25:22. And ye shall sow the 8th year, and eat yet of the fruit until the 9th year. So the 6th, 7th, and 8th years, until her fruit comes in, you shall eat of the old store. So the 6th, 7th, and 8th, we're going to eat. On the 8th, we plant. On the 9th is when we begin to reap once again. Leviticus chapter 26:33. And if we disobey, and I will scatter you among the heathen, and draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities wait. Leviticus 26:34. Then shall the land enjoy her Sabbath, as long as it lieth desolate, and ye be in your enemy's land, even then shall the land rest and enjoy her Sabbath. What is he saying? He's saying, if you don't allow my land to rest on the 7th year, he said, I'm going to take you from the land. And then because you're not in the land will then have its rest. Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 11. And this whole land shall be a desolation, and in astonishment. And these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. 2 Chronicles 36:21. To fulfill the word of Yahuwah by the mouth of Jeremiah until the land had enjoyed her Sabbaths. For as long as she lay desolate, she kept the Sabbath to fulfill the 70 years. He said, you're taken captive in Babylon. One of the reasons is because you did not let my land rest for her Sabbaths. He said for 70 years. This is one reason the people were taken captive, to fulfill the 7th year Sabbath of rest for the land. Now Daniel gives us further understanding of the 70 years as being 490 years. 70 Sabbaths were not performed. Daniel 9:2. In the first year of his, this is referring to Darius' reign, I, Daniel, understood by the books. What books? That will be Jeremiah and 2 Chronicles. The number of years whereof the word of Yahuwah came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years of desolation of Jerusalem. Daniel 9, verse 24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city. The purpose? To finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Now, weeks are defined in the books of Jubilee as 7 years. Here's the understanding was given to Daniel, that it is a period of 70 years times 7 years, which equals 490 years. Now, there's an interruption in time after 62 weeks times 7, which is 434 years. So let's look at the 7th year Sabbath of land rest. The land shall keep a Sabbath unto Yahuwah, Leviticus 25:2. 6 years we work the land, Leviticus 25:3. 7th year the land rest, Leviticus 25:4. Sabbath of rest unto the land, Leviticus 25:4. A Sabbath for Yahuwah, Leviticus 25:4. No one works the land, including slaves, servants, sojourners, and cattle, Leviticus 25:6. We may wonder, what do we eat in the 7th year? Leviticus 25:20. The provision is given. Yahuwah will command blessings upon us in the 6th year. Leviticus 25:21. After the 6th year, the land will bring forth fruit for 3 years. Leviticus 25:21. We sow again on the 8th year and reap again on the 9th year. Leviticus 25:22. Until the fruits come in, we will have enough from the old store. Leviticus 25:22. Disobedience causes desolation to the inhabitants of the land. Leviticus 26:33, Jeremiah 25:11, and 2 Chronicles 36:21. So this is the 7th year Sabbath of the land rest. Whew. Yah is not playing with his rest. Then we have the Sabbath of Jubilee. So every 7 years times 7, that's 49 years. On that 50th year, we have the year of Jubilee. Very similar to the Feasts of Weeks. 49 weeks, then the 50th day. So we'll look at what this is about. Leviticus chapter 25:8, the Sabbath of Jubilee. And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee. 7 times 7 years, and the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years. Again, this is similar to the Feast of Weeks. Leviticus 25:9, then shall cause the trumpet of Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month. So this is on the 49th year, on the day of Yom Kippur, is when we sound the trumpet. We sound the trumpet in the first day, but we sound the trumpet on this particular time. This is letting us know on the 49th year that come March or April, the Jubilee is here. This is the announcement that this is the upcoming year of the Jubilee. On this day, we began to blow the trumpets in acknowledgement and anticipation that the year of Jubilee is approaching. Exodus 12:2. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you, referring to that March-April period. Exodus 13:4. This day ye came out in the month of Abib. The Abib, or Nisan, this is the young ear of corn is the actual meaning, and it's between March and April. For the sake of clarity, I do not want to appear to celebrate the 7th month as a new year, as they did in the Babylonian captivity. The blowing of trumpets signifies the Jubilee New Year is approaching. Leviticus chapter 25:10, and ye shall hallow or consecrate the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee. A jubilee is a blasting or sounding of trumpets unto you, and you shall return every man unto his possession. And you shall return every man unto his family. Leviticus 25:11 through 17. A jubilee, the blasting of trumpets, that 50th year be unto you. You shall not sow, neither reap that which groweth of itself in it, nor gather the grapes in it of thy vine undressed. Leviticus 25:12. For it is the Jubilee, it shall be a set apart unto you. You shall eat the increase thereof out of the field. Leviticus 25:13. In the year of this Jubilee, you shall return every man unto his possession. Okay. Leviticus 25:14. And if thou sell, this tells us how to prorate if you bought somebody or what value they had with them. Leviticus 25:14. And if thou sell anything unto thy neighbor, or buyest aught of thy neighbor's hand, you shall not oppress one another. Leviticus 25:15. According to the number of years after the Jubilee, thou shalt buy of thy neighbor the number of years, lest unto the next Jubilee shall help determine the worth. And according to the number of years of the fruit, he shall sell unto him. Leviticus 25:16. According to the multitude of years, thou shalt increase the price thereof. It's prorated. And according to the fewness of years, thou shalt diminish the price of it. For according to the numbers of years of the fruits, doth he sell unto you, unto thee. Leviticus 25:17. You shall not therefore oppress one another, but thou shalt fear thy Elohim, for I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. In Leviticus chapter 25, Yahuwah deals with restoration practices, redemption of property, what properties are eligible to even be sold. The Levites couldn't sell theirs, how to care for a brother that is destitute, the distinction between the treatment of slaves and how a fellow Israelite can be an indentured servant, but not a slave. However, once again, for the purpose of this discussion, we will concentrate our attention on the Sabbath perspective. So we see the last Sabbath of rest for the land. We also see the 50th year Jubilee. So we have the Yahuwah's Sabbath or release for individuals every 7 years. This is why in our credit society, every 7 years, you're supposed to be released from your debt. This is also a Sabbath. This is called Yahuwah's release. Exodus 21:2. If thou buy an Hebrew servant, he shall serve, and the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. So if you buy a Hebrew, he's supposed to work for you 6 years, and then you got to let him go. On the 7th year, he's free. Deuteronomy 15:1. At the end of every 7 years, thou shalt make a release, a shemata, to drop something or throw it down. That's H8059, a shemata. Deuteronomy 15:2. And this is the manner of the release, the shemata. Every creditor that lendeth aught to his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it of his neighbor, because it is Yahuwah's release, shemata. Deuteronomy 15:3. Of a foreigner, thou mayest exact it again. Not your brother, but a foreigner. But that which is thine with thy brother, thine hand shall release. Yahuwah is requiring us to forgive the debts of our brothers. Matthew 6:12. And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. So this is not only the Yahuwah's release of the land, not only Yahuwah's year of Jubilee, the 50th year, but also Yahuwah's release, which takes place every 7 years. The children of Israel are to be released from all debt. Now we have some man-instituted Sabbaths. I'll look at 2. I will presumptuously assume that most people will be unfamiliar with the book of Jubilee. Therefore, I will read almost in entirety. The book of Jubilee was written by Moses as the angel of presence, that's Yahuwah. The angel of Yahuwah spoke to him on Mount Sinai. Jubilee 6:24. Noah ordained for them for himself as feasts for the generations forever, so that they have become a memorial to him, to Noah. Jubilee 6:25. On the new moon of the first month, he was told for himself to make an ark. And on that day, the earth was dry, and he saw from the opened ark of the earth. He saw from the opened ark the earth. Then on the new moon of the fourth month, the mouths of the depths of the bottomless pit beneath were closed. That means no drainage of the waters. Jubilee 6:26. On the new moon of the seventh month, the mouths of the abyss of the earth were opened, and the water began to descend into them. Now the water is now draining. Jubilee 6:27. On the new moon of the 10th month, the tops of the mountain were seen, and Noah was glad. Because of this, he, Noah, ordained them, the first, the fourth, the seventh new moon, for himself as feasts for memorials forever. And thus they are ordained. The first, the fourth, the seventh, and 10th new moons are instituted as the memorial Sabbaths by Noah. So here it was instituted, it was ordained, which means that Noah ordained or instituted, and Yah wrote these down in the presence of the angel of Yahuwah, that the first, the fourth, the seventh, and the 10th new moon are Sabbaths by way of Noah. Then we look at the second man-instituted Sabbath. We can go to the book of Esther, chapter 9, verse 20. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Jews that were in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and far. Esther 9:21. To establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month of Adar, that is the 12th month, and the 15th day of the same yearly. Esther 9:22. As the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, and from mourning into a good day, that they should make them days of feasting, drinking a feast, and joy. This is having food and sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor. This is where we have the custom of gift giving. Wherefore they called these days Purim, which means a lot, a measure, after the name of Pur. So during the time of Esther, Mordecai, her uncle, had made a decree, because Esther had saved her people as the king was being deceived, and the children of Israel were saved. So it was here that Mordecai said, on the 14th day and on the 15th day of the 12th month, we should honor this forever. And during these days, we'll do celebrations and feasts, and we'll give gifts. We'll give food to one another and gifts to the poor. These are man-instituted Sabbath. And if you see, once again, this is the 14th and the 15th. Now, this is significant because we'll see when we go to the new moons that the 14th and the 15th is always a full moon, and we'll look at why. So on the 15th is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. On the 15th is also the Feast of Tabernacles. And now we see on the 14th and 15th, we also see that the Feast of Purim is celebrated as well. So these are the two man-instituted Sabbaths. We're going to close, and we pick up in our fourth and final section. We will look at the new moon Sabbaths. Once again, thank you for tuning in to the discussion on Sabbaths, feast days, appointed times, and new moons. I'm Dr. David Price. As always, if you have any questions or comment, you can email me at newgenesis5111@gmail. If you would like me to send you a copy of all four studies in one copy, in one file, I will send them. This is in written format. You can print this out, make a booklet, very similar to what I did. All you have to do is email me at newgenesis5111. I would love to send you a copy of our Sabbath rest.